Well, folks, it's top of the hour, and our demonstration for this evening is moved up due to logistics. So, without further ado, I am going to go to Mr. Walt Wager for his demonstration tonight. As with all demos, it is Walt's demonstration. So, any questions and comments, please keep it till the end of the demonstration, and Walt will be more than happy to try and answer any of your questions or your comments regarding what he has done tonight. So without further ado, Walt, I'm going to spin to you, and then I am going to mute everybody. And Tom, if you can just go ahead and unmute you guys on that end, and everything will be good to go. So I'm going to mute everybody now. Now you can unmute yourself.
All right. Well, I don't know what you're seeing. I see a screen. Hold on a second. Tom's going to get the camera straight here. You see me?
We've still got the.
Oh, I know the bot.
Like the
moved. Hold on.
There we go. See you now.
Tom's got the greatest little camera, as long as it stays where it needs to be. Well, I had the great opportunity to attend and turn at the SWAT meeting, demonstrate at the SWAT meeting this year. And one of the demonstrations I did was on Native American holoforms. And that's what I'm going to do tonight. And we'll start off with a little slideshow if we can, Tom. Oh, by the way, I want to thank Tom Kinney, because if it wasn't for his shop and his internet, we couldn't do this. My internet runs at 1 megabit per second. So, Tom, thank you.
Yes, thanks, Tom.
Now, my daughter used to live in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and we'd go out there and visit and get to go to the galleries and up to Santa Fe and Taos. And we purchased some Native American pottery. And I want to say, if you're not inspired by that pottery as a turner, you're missing something. So tonight, we're going to look at some of that and some of the shapes that they turn, and talk a little bit about the detail and how you can accomplish some of that. So mostly what we acquired were Acoma pottery, but in that area, you also have the Zuni pottery and the Santa Clara pottery, and some Navajo pottery. A lot of the galleries actually carry a wide range of pottery. Next. This is an Acoma vase shape, and if you see, as a wood turner, what do you think about that shape? How would you turn that? And so it gives you I think of wood turning as a problem-solving activity. So this gives you some problems to solve. Also, the detail on the pottery, you'll notice, is quite fine. Next. So if you go online and you Google pottery shapes, you'll come across a number of websites that have things like this. And as you look across them, you can see that a lot of the things you'll see at the galleries or at the wood turning shows in the instant gallery are some of these shapes. Next. Oops, we missed one. Again, this is just more pottery shapes that will look more or less familiar. Next. Again, some of the shapes that we see with the long necks, and they present a challenge to a turner. Next. The other thing is the embellishments that the Native Americans put on their pottery. Originally, the pottery was more for actual cooking and keeping grains and keeping seeds and other fundamental uses. Today, after the advent of aluminum, they don't make many pots to cook with anymore, but they're far more interesting and far more profitable as souvenirs and collectible items. Next. This is an Acoma pot that it's about 11 by 11 inches that we collected when we were out there. And you can see the detail, the fine detail in the pottery. And basically the pottery is made as a slab technique using the clays that are out there. And then a white slip is put over the outside. And then the pottery is painted basically using a black slip made from clay. And then the whole thing is fired. The clay, the natural color of the clay is the orange up on top. But you can see those fine lines are actually painted onto the pottery using a brush made from the yucca plant. Next. This is another piece of pottery. This is a smaller pot, 5 inches by 5 inches, with the detail on it that you can see in the design. And that pot is, again, it's made, the clay itself is a terracotta color with a white slip with black clay decorations. Next. Early on, there's a number of famous potters, just like there are a number of famous turners. This might be the David Ellsworth of the pottery field. I don't know, but this little pot is 6.5 inches wide by 7 inches and 7.5 inches high. And if you could find a Maria Martinez pot at a flea market, you ought to buy it. Next. The pots are fired. The clay is a terracotta color. When it's fired, it's fired in an open fire. And before the fire is out, they cover the pot with a mulch of animal dung and other things that keeps the air from getting to it and turns the color to black. This pot was glazed, and with the outside glaze, you can see the pattern in it. So the pot was burnished with a stone, and then the pattern was painted on, then the pot was fired. Next. This is a Baca piece in Santa Clara. The Santa Clara pieces are actually quite small, 3 inches by 4 inches wide, 3 inches high by 4 inches wide. Again, the painting is done on the pot with the pot is burnished. The painting is done with the clay, then it's fired, and then it gets that black color with the different layers of matte as a function of the painting. Next. They're not all pots are small. This is a big one. This is a Navajo pot painted with some of the Navajo decorations. Next. And this is a Santa Clara pot. We've seen people do relief. It reminds me of Dixie Biggs and her relief that she does in her pots. Again, the pot is the same clay with the decoration molded into the pot. Here the pot is a little bit thicker. It's not a really thin pot, but it holds that decoration. Next. Some of the pots are really finely designed and painted. This particular Hopi pot is one that we collected. The pot is quite small, maybe 2 inches by 3 inches. And you can see on the detail on it, the amount of detail that's in the painting. Next. Dusty Narano is a potter that does these small pieces. Some of these pieces are no more than the length of my finger, like 2 inches by 3 inches. And, but they're, again, the decoration and the skill in potting and the shapes are something that really interests me. Next. This is another Narano pot. You can see the detail in the trout on the top, trout chasing the frog. And the neck of the pot is actually quite thin with about a 3/8 inch hole in the top. Next. We're going to talk about designs a little bit later. So I think what we'll do now is we'll go to create a pot, and then we'll come back to this slideshow. Well, no, let's just finish the slideshow. When I make the pot, I can put a design on. The pot is designed on a piece of graph paper. We'll go to the next slide, and this graph paper are called polar graphs, and there's a piece of software called Graph Paper Maker, and I think there's a slide that has Graph Paper Maker on it. But you design the pot. This is not a pot. This is a platter. But you design the pot and the decoration on the Graph Maker paper that helps you transfer the design to the pot later. Next. Here's a design that you'll see that I did just recently on the graph paper, which actually shows you the design better than the polar graph. But the polar graph gives you an idea of how it's going to go on to the pot itself. Next. That's it. Okay. Let's stop share. Let me stop the thing. So one of the designs you saw in there was for this pot, which is about 5 inches by 4.5 inches, and it has 76 times 2, 146 striations, and probably about 30 horizontal stripes. And we'll make something like this. Not all pots are graphic design. Some of the pots actually have a lot of paintings and details on them. This is a little pot that I made, this wood, and painted freehand on it. This is a long neck pot, and if you're going to do something like this, you're going to have to hollow it through the bottom. We're not going to do that tonight. It takes too long and it's risky. So we're gonna make a pot about this size, and then we'll put some lines and decoration on it. Any questions so far?
No, nothing in the chat. Let's go.
All right. So let me put a tool rest on the lathe. We'll use that later. On the wall behind me. All right. This is plenty big. And I have my face mask around here somewhere. What did I do with it? Where?
It's hanging on the tailstock. It's on the tailstock.
Oh.
Thanks, Doug.
Right, and I'm starting with a piece of holly that we cut from my own yard. Live center. Live center.
First row underneath your Jacob's truck.
This one? Oh, here, this will work. Again, I'm not in my own shop, so I'm using other people's tools, and I'm not familiar with where everything is, so I apologize for that, but.
No worries.
All right, so I'm just going to do the outside shape first. And again, this is going to be a rather simple shape. It'll be along these lines. Most of the pots that I've seen are not unfamiliar to woodturners in terms of the shapes, but some have more defined shoulders, and some are more rounded. Some are square on top and round on the bottom. We're not going to do that one tonight. That's another time. So, my trusty spindle gouge, long range or transmitter. Do we need that? All right. most of the pots that I see are the openings in the top aren't really small because these were functional pots. People put things in them. So when I'm hollowing, it's not going to be through a really small hole. So I'm going to say the pot's going to be about that long. Just give myself some relief for the bottom. I'm going to put a little round top on it. A little bead on the top. I prepared this wood a while ago, so it had a tenon on both ends. We don't need this tin. We're just going to hollow this out. So, and that's my basic outside shape. Now I use the spindle gouge for that, but if I get any outside edge that needs some, or tool marks that need some correcting, I tend to use a negative rake scraper. There's a lot of talk about whether these are any different than a normal scraper used properly, but they've become very popular. The negative rake scraper has a burr, just like a regular scraper. And I can go around the outside and take out any tool marks. I can also refine the shape a little bit. If it's got any flat spots, I'll get rid of them. Also have a slightly rounded negative rake scraper. I'll take off this tenon. We don't need that. I have a little grain tear out from the scraper, but not too terrible. It'll sand out easily enough. For hollowing, I generally drill a hole. Actually, I'll do it the way I generally do it. But I generally drill a hole in the piece to get started. It makes it easier to hollow. Sometimes you can just use the spindle gouge to, for a smaller piece, I would just use a spindle gouge. Okay, what do I do with the drills? I'll put them over here. I hid the drills. Need them over here. There they are. Now, someone generally asks me, well, what speed do you drill at? And I say, well, I really don't know.
About that.
Nice sound. Okay. Oh. Actually, I'm looking for my pencil. Here we go. Let's see where we're down to. We're down to about there. Let's see where I got a piece of tape here.
Well, we're not hearing you too well.
You're not hearing me? Okay.
Now we can hear you. You
Marking
weren't
this so
talking.
I can drill down to the where I want the bottom to be. Tom gave me a piece of wax here on the hot drill. It'll help kill the squeal. Well, maybe. And if I want to remove a little more wood, I can use this Forstner bit. Slow it down a little bit more. And I find it always helps if you're using a Forstner bit, and I know I've said this before in here, but I'll say it again if there's some people that haven't done this before. Using a Forstner bit, actually for something like this, it helps to drill a smaller hole first. It's because you're not fighting against that center piece that doesn't really turn very fast on the lathe. The drills will drill without it, but this just makes it faster. Anybody have any questions, just please speak out anytime. Or if you have suggestions, speak out too.
Floor's been made open by the demonstrator. Don't talk over each other if you want to make a comment or ask something.
Okay.
Yeah, I use beeswax on the Forstner bits to keep them from doing that.
Right now, I said that, you know, a lot of times when I start hollowing, I'll just use my spindle gouge, this 3/8 inch spindle gouge. And if you take small steps at a time, you can get down, do an awful lot of hollowing with the spindle gouge. Okay, so checking my progress here with my pencil. That's where my bottom is. And this is about how far down I am now. Can you see that? No, I guess you can't. Hold on. Top camera.
You put the top camera on, Tom.
Top camera, Tom. There you go.
There we go.
So again, the depth is about there. My hollowing so far with the spindle gouge is about here, and I'll go to the hollowing tools next. And generally, what you want to do is clear out as much as you can in the middle so that you have room for the chips and whatnot, especially if you have a smaller hole opening. Now, I brought a number of different hollowing tools that I use just to talk about them a bit. This is a Sorby hollowing tool. The tip is actually part of the shaft. And to sharpen it, if you sharpen this on a grinder, it's going to be gone before very long. So to sharpen it, I use a diamond card and just come down across the bevel like this. And that puts a micro burr on the tip that will cut. It won't cut for terribly long, but it will cut. And it's a nice little tool to handle. Second thing about this type of tool is if you're going to put it in there, you want the straight part of the shaft on the tool rest. If you put it on here like this and it grabs, it's going to pull it down and it's going to swing it around and come out of your hand or create a catch. So I want the straight part on the tool rest, and then I just put it in and come around to the edge. And this tool is quite thin, and it's not good to go in any more than about 4 or 5 inches because it hasn't got a whole lot of strength to it, and it starts to vibrate, and you can hear it. but it is a nice tool for the edge. The second tool I'll talk about is a carbide tool. This is a Penn State. There's a set of them that you get. Penn State. You get 3 for about $70, and they have carbide tips on them. They're pretty straightforward carbide tips. The carbide tips cost about $7 each. But you get this tool, which is pretty much worthless unless you're doing something really with a really heavy, sharp shoulder. This tool, which is a lot like the Sorby tool, and then the straight tool, which you do most of your work with anyhow. And I've put a Hunter carbide tip on this, which actually has a cutting edge more than a scraping edge.
Hey, Walt, what wall thickness are you shooting for?
Go ahead.
What wall thickness are you shooting for?
About 3/16 of an inch to 1/8 of an inch.
Oh, okay, right on.
Let's see, 2/16 is 1/8, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
When I woke up this morning, it was.
Sometimes, actually, I don't think about it a whole lot. I just go in there, and sometimes it'll be thicker, sometimes it'll be thinner, but I try to get an even wall thickness, and I'll talk about that in a minute when I get down to that point. So I'm going to go to this little rounded carbide thing. Same difference with the tool rest. It has the straight part of the shank wants to be on the tool rest. You don't want it flipping down like that. And it's nice to check periodically because your hands and your fingers are a lot better at seeing things than your eyes, especially when you're hollowing. You can't really see inside what's going on, but you can feel with your fingers where it's getting thinner or there's a ledge or something like that. The third tool I'll talk about for the hollowing, this is a John Jordan hollowing tool. It has a removable high-speed steel point on it, but you can take out and sharpen on the grinder. So you can put more of an edge on it than you can with a card, but still even so, I'll generally just go over the edge with a card. And this tool has a little more weight to it, so you can go a little deeper. Same thing, straight part on the shaft on the tool rest, but I can shorten the tool rest up some because I'm in here deeper.
Hey, Walt, are you using Hunters on all the carbides there?
No, this one I got I got this at the SWAT meeting just to try it out. It is
Just on the straight bar. Okay.
It's just on the straight tool. I haven't even used it yet in here, but it cuts
Well, I
nicely.
thought
Let's see.
There was a
I'm just going
question.
to try to
Yeah,
do
there was
this
just a
one.
question about it.
And sometimes, I know some people think watching hollowing is like watching paint dry, But it takes time. You can't just take everything all out at once. You've got to work at it sequentially. And sometimes I just run the tool down there like that and feel where those bumps are and where the edges are so that I know where to start, like right there. Now for small pieces like this, you don't need a visualizer or a hollowing jig. The tools are pretty easy to control. When you get something larger than the hollowing jigs and the visualizers and those laser thickness gauges are pretty nice. My gauge for this is a simple piece of bent wire. It's see if I can, looks like that. The gap is about a 1/2 inch. So if I put it in there like that and it's touching, I know that I'm not down to my 3/8 or 3/16 yet, but I can see that I'm pretty even down to about here. And then I hit a thicker part. So I'm going to go back in and get that. I'm going to use the straight tool. The advantage of the straight tool, if you can reach where you're going to cut, is that you can get the tool rest up as close as you want to. You don't have to worry about being on the long part of the shank on a curved tool, and you can kind of feel where the edges are. The Hunter carbide bit, in my opinion, is a little more grabby than the scraper bit because you've got a concave part here, and as you're coming in and you're cutting against, especially across the end grain, it's going to tend to grab it a bit more.
There's a can of pressed air on the shelf behind you if you want.
Oh, that's all right. I don't. It's pretty open. I've got almost the sawdust is out. So I'm going to check with the pencil again and see where I am. The bottom hasn't moved. That's a good thing. And there's a ledge right about there. So I'm getting close. Now there was a hole, remember, that I delivered down to the bottom. That's why I can know where that is. But I haven't really gotten all the way down into the bottom of that hole yet. I can feel it with the tool. As far as the side goes, where'd I put that wire? I'm pretty much even 1/2 inch going down to here. So I've got the thickness is pretty even, and then I can start taking out some of to get it as thin as I want it. Look at this. I want to be cutting at center, by the way, or slightly on top, not down on the bottom. I'm slightly above center. because I want to get into the bottom. I don't want to leave a nub down there if I can help it. And I can't do that unless I'm cutting on center. Now, someone will say, don't you ever go through the bottom? I'll say, only in demonstrations. Okay, we're down to the bottom now. It's just a matter of thinning it out. Doesn't take much. It's like doing a box lid, you know, it's almost fits, almost fits, almost fits, too loose. All right, I'm going to take and I can inspect it like this, easier than putting my head over there like that. And it actually looks pretty decent. I don't know if, whoops, I don't know if you can see inside of it or not. Let's see, we'll try. Let's see, I'll try, do what? Overhead, all right.
That looks great inside.
Looks pretty good. Well, one other thing for new people that have, or people that haven't done a lot of this, is if you take something out of the chuck, mark a jaw that you can put it back in the same place. So that way it'll be turning, it'll grab it, and it should be turning as true as you can make it turn. I found that putting a little red piece put some paint on the number 1 jaw makes it very easy to find. I don't have to search for the number. All I have to do is find a little red spot. And that might help some of you if you don't do that now. And I didn't bring any sandpaper. I wasn't planning on doing any sanding. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop on this now. Well, I have one more tool I want to show you. Can't find it. I was sure I brought it, but I don't see it. Oh, here it is. This is a I don't know what you call it. It's a teardrop tool, and this is a Sorby tool, and it's actually been made. Let's see if I can get that on the camera right. Made so that it's negative rate. Can you see that? So it's angled downhill, yes. And it can be used straight like this, and it actually gives you that negative.
Negative cutting action.
The negative angle, and this is used basically to smooth the inside of a piece before you sand it, if you're going to sand the inside. I have a story to tell on Tom. He said, "Do you sand the inside of your pieces?" I said, "Well, not all the time, not really fine. I don't spend a lot of time on sanding the inside. And so he went to a show and put a piece in there and went to the critique, and they asked him, well, what can I do to improve the inside? And they said, sand it. So, so I gave him bad advice. But this little scraper, teardrop scraper, takes out a lot of the tool marks. Doesn't work so well on the bottom. Then you can sand the inside starting with 80 or 100. Do it with my key. Oh, here it is. All right, so moving on, we'll start putting some lines on the outside.
So Matt had some questions about the wall thickness in respect to the
Yeah.
lines being put on. So Matt, if you could ask your questions, please.
Yes.
Right as I put some food in my mouth. Okay. You had said that the wall thickness was like basically an 1/8, and I was wondering about the burn lines that you're going to put in there, if that ever goes all the way through, because that's kind of tight.
No, well, an 1/8 is 3/16. No, burn lines are not very deep.
Okay.
They're certainly not an 1/8 of an inch deep. If I were going to put beads on the outside, I definitely want to leave it at least 3/16.
Yeah,
Right.
I know that when you're carving, you try to leave extra space for things. So I was just wondering about that. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure. No problem. It's a good question. And I didn't actually, this is not down to 3/16. It's more at a 1/2 inch, or it's at this spacing here that I have here, which I don't have a ruler, but it's maybe 3/8. So I'm going to leave it at that because I'm going to move on to the next stage of working on the outside. I can finish the inside at home. The thing I want to do now is just give some relief on the bottom so that I can get a pin in there. And this essentially is the bottom. I'm going to do a little bit more scraping. Just get my pencil marks off of there. Okay, I took out some of that tear out too. So normally I would sand this down to at least 400, 600, and then I'm going to show you how I put the grid on there.
Doing a great job, Walt.
Okay, let's see. Platform, what do we do about platform? How can you lose a great big platform? Here it is. All right, this is something that Tom made. It goes on the tool rest. I have a small one for my lathe at home that I made of a block of wood. Does the same thing as this one does. It sits in the tool rest and you can move it up and down. And we're going to draw some lines on this. And I use, for the paint and whatnot, I use Faber-Castell. Can you see that? Faber-Castell pens. And they come, there's something called a brush that has a pointed tip, but it's not as fine as a tip as the skinny one. It's an S. I don't know what S stands for. Maybe it stands for skinny. And they come in all different colors. This is a brush of sienna color.
Walt, are those inks or what kind of paints are they?
They're India ink.
Thank you.
And it's not like alcohol ink. They're very permanent, and they work real well. Now, one thing I want to do here, I'm afraid that was going to happen.
What brand of pens are they?
What brand? That Faber Castell. Let's see if I can get one there that you can you zoom in on? Oh, you can't zoom in on it because it's there's the brand.
Yeah, we got it.
They call them Faber-Castell Pitt Artist Pen. And they're about $4 each. They're not cheap. I got it. So now to index this, put my index wheels in here. I make my own index wheels using that polar paper. This is kind of bright. Oh, let's see. There, you can see. You can see the printing on it now. And with the polar paper maker, you can tell it how many indexes, how many things you want. And that's something that you figure out with your design and the diameter of the piece that you're working on. Now, this piece here actually has 112 vertical lines. This index piece, oops, get my head out of the way. This index piece has 56 lines. So I'll use it first to make 56 lines, and then I'll move the piece a little bit, as you'll see, to get the lines between. I'm not going to make all 56 lines. You'll be here for another hour. So we'll make maybe 12 lines and then go from there. So this fits. This is on masonite. It's glued to a piece of masonite. and I make the striations on the bandsaw. It's just the width of the bandsaw blade. And if you have indexing on your lathe, that is a number of striations you want, or a multiple of the striations you want, you don't have to make these. You can just use your indexing on the lathe. But if you want something specific that doesn't fit with the indexing on your lathe, then this is one way to do it. Now, one thing I found is that you want to get it good and flat so that this is turning nice and straight. It was turning straight when you took it off the lathe. You want it turning straight when you put it back on the lathe, because if it's moving in and out, it's going to be hard to get those pen lines even. So what I made was a little holder for the pen, and the pen fits into the holder like this. And I just tonight put that little piece of wire on there because I want to try something later in terms of getting the horizontal lines absolutely even. But for now, I'm just going to do the vertical lines. And I want to be at center. Well, let's see, how would I know? I'm just going to eyeball this. It's pretty good, actually. Whoops. Oh, this is good.
Set it against your tailstock height.
Yeah, I could do that, but it's not that critical. All right, so I have it on center, and now I have a popsicle stick here somewhere that fits in my index wheel like that, and I can draw my lines. My little piece of wire is getting in the way. I'll just bend it out of the way for now, and I'll bend it back later if it works. Okay. So I'm just making a line, vertical line, and I should put a pencil line up here so that if I want to stop, instead of going all the way up, I'll know where to stop. Okay. Take my next line. Now, someone was talking about wood burning. You could do the wood burner on a surface like this also, but what I do is I'd rather make the lines in pencil and then wood burn them freehand. It works just as well for me, rather than messing with the wood burner on a flat plane. Now the distance, the problem again with something like this is the accuracy of the lines, and the distance between the lines depends on the accuracy of how you cut the grooves with the bandsaw and how well the popsicle stick centers it on that particular spot. But when you have this many lines and this many little boxes, no one can see the difference. Or if they can, they aren't going to talk about it. Okay, so I'm gonna stop there, but you get the idea, right?
Yes.
Now, going around on the other part of it, let me talk about getting the lines between. So this is this would give me half the number of lines I need for that design. So what I need to do is I need to come in here and pick a halfway mark on one part of this. I don't know if you can see that or not, probably not. Like that? Is that better? And then what I'll do is move the pen up onto move the standard or the pen up so that it centers on that line. And then every time I come back to here, it will give me that same spot on the line because I've raised the pen up to the distance I need in order to accomplish that line. Does that make sense? The other thing I could do would be to loosen this and move it around to where it's at that point and then tighten it back down. The problem is whether or not it's going to go right back into the same plane. So I find that moving this up just a little bit is a better solution than moving the index wheel itself, or at least that's what I've been doing. Now, to get the horizontal lines, I want the lines to be about the same. I want to make as close to a square as I can. So I want the lines to be about the same distance apart as they are vertical. Now, in this case, since I've only got half my lines, I'm going to slow the lathe way down and see how slow it goes. That's pretty slow. Okay, so I'm just going to put the pen up to the surface and let it come around. Now I've got that little wire spacer on there, and if I put that on the line I'm looking at,
Great idea.
whoops. Now, if you screw a line up, I just moved my scene. I've got this double line here because I wasn't concentrating, I guess, enough. You can always go back and either sand it off and start again, or you can leave it alone and see if it makes any difference. Now, in this piece, can you tell where that line was that was screwed up?
Yeah, we can see it.
Oh yeah, it's clear as day, Walt.
It's right there.
Yeah, it's right.
Yep,
there,
yep,
right there.
yep.
Yep, that's where. Yep, I saw it.
That thickness. And so if you don't take care of it now, you can't do anything about it later. So, I'll just have to throw this in the fire.
Oh, we were just teasing. You can't see it, Walt.
Yeah, before
So-
you send it, throw it in the fire, send it to me.
Yeah, right.
I was gonna say you can send it to me. I'll throw it away for you.
Well, it's not going anywhere, but the idea then is once you get all your horizontal and vertical lines and you get them to where you want them, actually, I'll just do one here. Yeah, I didn't do a very good job on that, but I'll do it. Then you get your horizontal lines to match that thickness. This will all get sanded off when I. And then you have a grid to work with. Now, the thing about the designs, pull some of these papers out here, is that, again, this is quite bright. When you make a design, you have a starting and a stopping point. Let me see if I can find one that I actually, okay, here's one, better one. This camera? Okay. A starting and a stopping point. So this pattern that I drew out on this graph paper repeats every 12 boxes. Well, what I say there would be, when I get done with this, would be 112 boxes, 112 vertical lines. 112 divided by 12 comes out to what? Is that?
It's not even. 144 would be even.
144. Let's see.
How many on your circular indexing wheel? How many
This
blocks
one's
do you
50,
have there?
this one's 56.
Okay.
And I have other circular other indexing wheels for different patterns. Oh, here's one. This one is 60. So this one would be 120. This is the pattern this is the wheel that actually I would use for this design because it repeats at 12. So 120 would give me, this is a 60 piece wheel, and I would make
It would give
60
you
lines
five.
and then divide them in another 60. That would give me 120, and that would give me 10 repeats on the pattern.
Yep.
If I only want 5 repeats on the pattern, I just leave it at 60. So in this particular case, let's see, I have one here. One, two, three. This one has 6 repeats, but the repeat is only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this would have 60 lines on it. This one actually would be done with the other wheel, but just one set of lines, of horizontal lines. So what I guess the point is that you have to think about, drawing the boxes in, it's just a matter of filling in the pattern on whatever it is that you have decided to do. That's the easy part, actually. It's the most tedious part, but it's once you get down to that point, it's actually just a matter of sitting down and doing it. In this case, I would count over 12. I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, assuming that I had the pattern right, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then I would come down the other way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, well, I'd leave myself any space here, but it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then I would just go on and fill in the rest of the pattern.
A 56 tick pattern would allow you to repeat this, a 14 block pattern. So you could, if you just added, like, skipped a block and then added a vertical line, you could do that pattern on this one.
Yeah, you can do that too. You can split your pattern up and put other patterns between the patterns. And in fact, that slide, I don't know if that shows it. Let's see if I have a picture of it. Well, here, this will demonstrate. You can have a pattern like this, and skip 2 lines and do that pattern again. Skip 2 lines, do that pattern again, and make it fit into the wheel. As long as you count out and you're sure it's going to come out even. That's the advantage of the polar paper. Is before you actually put it on the wood, you can see whether it's going to intersect correctly or come out even. Otherwise, actually, the graph paper gives you a better idea of what the pattern's going to look like on the side of the piece. But I think this is where the problem-solving part comes in, and this is what makes it interesting and inspirational, in my opinion, to try to do something different. And not all. See, I pulled a couple pieces here that I've done. Here's a piece. This is a tiny piece. And I put milk paint on it, and I cut the top at an angle. It's a Navajo design. And I don't know how many people out there have worked with milk paint. It's new to me. I won a raffle and got $100 worth of milk paint sitting on my shelves at home. So I figured I better learn how to use it or do something with it. And it's very interesting. It's a mineral type thing. So it looks a lot like pottery, and it buffs out a lot like pottery too. This is a piece that I marbled. Let's see if you can see that. Where am I looking at? Osbot. I marbled it and then put a dragonfly stencil over top of it, and then put milk paint over top of that, and then buffed it out, and it gives you a whole different look. But again, it's the Native American pottery shape. A lot of our pots that I've seen, I'll generalize here. People make very small bottoms on them. So, but most of the Native American pots have a very substantial bottom because they don't want them to fall over. They're actually there to be used and that you can put something in. Again, I think I showed this pot. This is another very simple design. It's just a couple chevrons with every other dot in between. Did that focus? Is it? Oh, there it goes. Okay. So you have that. This is beaded. You can bead the outside of the pot and put a design on it. This is wood burn. With a Cocobolo lit top on it. And if you go online and you look up Native American figures, art figures. These different figures have different meanings: wind, rain, harvest, war, music, and whatnot. And you can find that online. And they were just wood burned on top. So I think that the point is that we all find our inspiration somewhere, and I've found mine on the Native American pottery. So that's what I have for you tonight. If there are any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them. And I will just sand this all off and start over again with the lines, but that's how I do them.
Outstanding demo there, Walt. We appreciate you sharing your knowledge and inspiration and how-tos there.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure.
So folks, floor is open. If you got any questions or comments, now's your chance.
Great job, Walt.
Do you have a source for patterns?
Well, yeah, in a way. Although, what I would suggest, the internet has, if you're looking at a pattern, especially to learn how to put it into the graph paper and whatnot, there's a number of books on Indian pottery that you can get your hands on very inexpensively through used bookstores. The other idea is if you go online and you look up Maria Martez or some of these other, just put in Google Native American potters, and you'll get the galleries that carry their work, and you'll see great pictures of their pottery, and you can see that the designs that they use, and try to figure them out. And believe me, it's not always simple to figure them out.
Right.
And put them on graph paper, even though you're looking straight at it. Your repeats and your interactions between the patterns gets quite complex. But that's one way to do it. And then the second thing is make your own patterns. They are a bunch of little dots on graph paper, so you can design anything you want. But the inspiration can come from the internet. And there's a lot to learn by trying to repeat a pattern that you see on a piece of the pottery.
Thank you.
There's a number of different styles. So if you do a Google image search on any of the, if you want to do a specific style, like Navajo or Hopi or Pueblo or any of the other ones, there is a great for instance, I know that there's a huge repertoire of imagery for Pueblo style pottery online also. So just do a Google image search and you'll see hundreds of examples.
Right. And you can get some of the ancient examples, like some of the environmental pottery or the cooking pottery that they actually use versus the decorative pottery that they now sell. There's quite a difference there too in terms of shapes and design. There's so much stuff out there, it's impossible to even talk about it all. But the different pueblos, like Santa Clara, has those little black pots. The sculptured pots, the Yakima are some of these more traditional, what I call shapes and fine lines, fine detailed design. The Navajo pots are a little different, but you have a lot of artists. It's like their signature pot. So, if you see a John Jordan wood turning, it's a John Jordan wood turning just because that's, they all look kind of alike. And Steve Sinner, what his vases look like. You can pick some of this stuff out. So there are potters out there that are currently working, Native American potters that are currently working that have signature styles that you can begin to recognize if you go and look for it.
Walt, there was a question on after you're done laying everything out, got your design on there. What do you use to finish it?
Oh, that's a good question. Almost anything goes over India ink without smearing. I tend to use spray lacquer, Krylon matte finish, and then a couple of coats of that, and then buff it. Now with the milk paint, I have nothing on the surface of this. This is just burnished or buffed out, and it's a mineral type paint, so it has its own characteristics, and it's just different. I can't tell you that I've mastered this at all, but it's something I've been playing with, and I don't have to put any lacquer or anything else on top of it. It's finished. What else? Oh, this is another milk paint piece. All the wood, not all the wood that I use is fancy enough to. I mean, it's really pretty plain wood. There's no grain particular to it or anything else. So I coated this with milk paint and then did the design and the painting on it. And I don't have anything on it yet. I probably would coat it with lacquer if I finish it.
Yeah. Okay. Good info. Great demo once again.
Well, thank you.
Very good.
I threw a link in chat a while back. There's an online app that'll let you generate those polar grids of any size.
Yes, it's called Graph Maker Paper 8. GRAPH, Graph Paper, PAPER, Maker, MAKER 8.
Okay, well, this one was mathpolate.com, but I'll go look that up and throw it in there too.
Yeah, it's an app. I have it on my machine as an app, but I think you can use it online also for free. So if you do graph paper, if you just Google graph paper, it'll come up. It will pop up.
Yeah.
Thanks, Walt.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Another job I got to try to get caught up on.
That was very
Yeah, I
nice.
gotta do one of them.
Thank you very much. That was very nice.
You're welcome.
Everybody thank the cameraman and the shot provider.
Thank you,
Kenny.
Tom.
Sure
Thanks,
welcome.
Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Walt.